Welcome into New York Giants Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Marshall Green. Give me a follow on Twitter at _. I'll do this. Everyone that follows me from today's show, I'll give you a follow back. Just send me a DM that says OBJ so that I know that you come from this video. In today's show, we're going to break down the latest quotes from Odell Beckham Jr. because on Thursday Night Football, Amazon Prime, they have a show called The Shop. LeBron James, Maverick Carter, they had Odell Beckham on, and they asked him a couple of questions on what team is he leaning towards, what's he doing, has he made his mind up, when is he going to sign, and is he going to play this year? We have quotes from all of those questions. We're going to break them down on today's show, so lock us in and let's roll. This is what OBJ first had to say when he asked if he made his mind up about a team. He said, "I'll say this, but it doesn't mean anything. I don't feel like Sauqon Barkley and I got to do what we were supposed to do." He feels like him and Sauqon Barkley have unfinished business, as I would call it, and I would somewhat agree with that. I feel like their years together didn't ever really get to the level of production and success for the organization that it probably should have. At the time, OBJ was a top 5 wide receiver in the National Football League, and Sauqon Barkley being that second pick out of Penn State, they quickly formed a friendship, and we thought that they could be one of the best offenses in the NFL. It didn't work out. Injuries kind of prohibited that. But OBJ, I think he wants to be a Giant, and I think it goes right with this. He's best friends with Sauqon. He's best friends with Sterling Shepard. If you go and watch the video of the quote we just showed you, you could hear that he was about to say, he said young Shep. He was about to say something about Sterling Shepard, but the other people on the show stood up, spun a football, and everyone went crazy, and Odell didn't get to finish his thoughts. So he was talking about Sauqon Barkley. He was talking about Sterling Shepard. He wants to be a Giant. That's where it started. That's where his star shined the brightest. That's where he was at the top of the top, the catch. His marketability when he was with the Giants was one of the most craziest marketing strategies I have ever seen for a football player. He had his own shoe deal. He had his own sneaker deal, his own custom sneakers, his own custom cleats. You don't see that for players outside of New York. Victor Cruz, he's got his own shoes. That's because he played for the New York Football Giants. I mean, OBJ coming home, in my opinion, honestly makes sense, and the most sense for any team in the NFL, and Odell Beckham Jr. I think it's funny. Funny's probably not the best word I want to use here. I think it's telling that every time OBJ has been asked about his next team or can he do this or can he do that, he's always said something about money. And I'm not saying the guy's broke and he needs money, but he is suing Nike, and he said that he is owed $20 million. Also, there's the rumors out there that he turned his last contract all into Bitcoin, and he took a major loss. Maverick Carter asked him to say something on the show about what team he's going to sign for. He said, "You got to show me the money." A couple weeks ago and months ago on Twitter, Giants fans were asking him, would he come home? And he said, "Your GM has to show me the money." You want to make a lot of money? Come back to the New York Football Giants, help that team be great again, win a playoff game, maybe win a Super Bowl one day, and you will be back to being the most marketable player in the National Football League. It's the media capital of the world. You've been there already. It's a come-home story. It makes the most sense. Look, even if you don't play this year, I still think it makes the most sense for Odell to re-sign with the Giants. I'll ask you, though, GM Joe Shane right here. Sit in the seat of the general manager. Do you want the Giants to sign Odell Beckham Jr.? Type OBJ for yes. Type no BJ for no. I want to hear from you down in the comment section. OBJ for yes or no BJ for no. Also, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel because we're not only playing the Philadelphia Eagles, I almost called them the Phillies, the Philadelphia Eagles on the football field this weekend. We're also in a subscriber battle. Giants Now, the channel you're watching, hosted by me, and Eagles Now, another channel here at Chat Sports, hosted by Chase Sr. We're in a sub battle. I want to beat him on the field. I also want to beat him in the sub battle. I damn sure don't want to lose to Philly maybe twice this week. So help me out if you love the Giants and you're looking for a one-stop shop on YouTube. Videos every single day, live videos and watch parties on Sunday. Hit that big red button and help us catch up and beat Philadelphia Eagles. Now, let's talk about now what OBJ had to say when he was asked about when he could come back, because I thought these quotes here were really telling about where OBJ was at headspace-wise and what he was thinking the rest of this season could look like for him on a team. I'm going to be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of this quote. I'll just read it and I'll let you guys make your own decisions on it. He said, I haven't made a decision. And for me, I would like to be in a stable environment. Get up at 6 a.m., leave at 6 p.m. for 4 weeks, and then let's talk about it. I've played football for a long time. I'm not saying that I couldn't step in and play regular season, but I don't see the point. I really don't. I would rather play when the pressure is on. I would rather play when the lights are on. Like, I went through the whole playoffs, and I was, after having my first bad playoff experience when he dropped 6 passes against the Green Bay Packers and the boat trip, he said, like, all I was ready for was to clear that off my name. If you're not ready to play in the regular season, Odell, you don't have to preface it with saying you just want to play in the playoffs. The guy is clearly not ready to play. The guy is clearly not healthy, because if he was, he would play. That's what healthy football players do. They play the sport. They don't watch games. And it's okay if you're not healthy, because you just tore that ACL less than a year ago. You didn't have an offseason with the training staff. You didn't have a mini camp. You didn't have an OTA. You didn't have preseason. You didn't have the first 10 weeks of the season. So it's okay that you're not healthy. But enough is enough. If you're not healthy, you don't have to say it, but stop making up all these weird things as to why you don't want to play in the regular season. I think it's also noteworthy to go back to what the Dallas Morning News had to say about Odell Beckham Jr. after his visit with the Dallas Cowboys on where he stands with his health and how the physical went with the Cowboys. He said Beckham hasn't played since tearing his ACL during the Super Bowl earlier this year. Several people with knowledge of his status told the Morning News it appears his rehabilitation will extend into the playoffs. And that makes sense. It's been 10 months since the Super Bowl when he tore his ACL. That's a year-long recovery. Go back to Sauqon Barkley. He wasn't his same self the first year he was back. And I also think it's important, and kudos to Jordan Renan, one of the best beat reporters for the Giants, works for ESPN. He said this a couple of days ago on Twitter, a 3-part tweet. We got it in a quote for him. He said, 1, Odell wants to be a Giant. The lure of coming to New York, making it a home for his family, and winning in this city is enticing. He said there's unfinished business. It's a matter of if the Giants want to pay him the money he wants. 2, the OBJ deal is more about next year than this year. Even Sauqon Barkley has said it repeatedly. People need to be realistic. He's coming back from serious knee injuries. No training camp, no practice yet. It's already December. It will take time to get into football shape. He closed this out with, anyone who thinks Odell Beckham Jr. is rushing back from a second torn ACL should do a prove-it deal for the final few games of this season isn't thinking logically. He's better off waiting until next season to return rather than do that. OBJ playing this year was probably always a stretch. I probably bit the bait a little bit and believed too many of the reports, and I think it was more so my heart speaking with it, because I do think, and I don't know if he ever can get back to that, but if we can get that receiver that was with the Los Angeles Rams last year and play right now on the Giants will be a much better football team, and that's always what I wanted, this team to be better. It just happened to be that Odell Beckham was the receiver that could do it. I'm going to be honest, though. Even if OBJ doesn't play this year, I still think the Giants' best chance to sign OBJ is now, and that's for a couple of reasons. 1, there's only a couple of people bidding up against him. The Cowboys, the Bills, and the Giants. The Bills and the Cowboys, they're guaranteed to make the playoffs. They're pushing for a run at the Super Bowl trophy. If they're not going to sign him now and he can't play at all, they're not going to sign him, because they're not going to sign a player that's not going to play and be a distraction the rest of the way. Whereas the Giants could get a jump start on free agency, where the free agent class at the wide receiver position is not very talented. Odell will easily be the best one, and I think you can get him on somewhat of a discount now compared to when all 32 teams in the National Football League are going to be bidding for the services of Odell Beckham Jr. And I also think it's a benefit if you get him in the building now. Even if he doesn't play, he gets a whole offseason with the training staff and the trainers and the medical team with the New York Football Giants. You can actually do that rehab the right way, have him in the building working with the best trainers in the world. I think it makes the most sense. You get a discount, you get him with the trainers, you get him back with the football team, the team where he was at his absolute best. I'll ask you, though, where does Odell Beckham Jr. sign in your opinion? I think if he signs this year before the season's over, only one team makes sense. That's the New York Giants, because I don't even know if Odell is going to play in the playoffs, and I don't know if a team is going to sign Odell just so he could play in the playoffs. I'll ask you, though. Type NYG for the Giants, DAL for the Cowboys, or BUF for the Buffalo Bills. We'll close this video out with taking a look at what the New York Times playoff picture odds look like for the Giants as they go down the home stretch of this season. Right now, according to the Times, the Giants have a 66% chance to make the playoffs. If you beat the Eagles, it jumps up to 81%. But if you lose, it's not the end of the world. It only drops 10%, and that's because the game of the season is next week against the Washington Commanders. Look, if you lose the next 2 games of the season, that's when your season's cooked. You can lose to the Eagles and you're still in a good spot. Like if you lose to Philly and beat Washington, you still have an 89% chance to make the playoffs. If you lose 2 games, the next 2 games, your season, it's fried. But if you beat Philly and lose to Washington, you're still in an okay spot. So you have to win at least one of these next 2 games. And if you want to solidify a spot in the playoffs, this year you're the Giants, take care of business, win the next 2 games, you got a 99% chance to make the playoffs. These next 2 games will be the most important games the Giants have played since the 2016 season when Odell was on that team, the last time the Giants actually made the playoffs. I appreciate everyone, as always, for making Giants Now a part of their day today. We're going to do 2 videos tomorrow on the channel, and that's for the real ones. Game Day Sunday. We got to watch Party Giants Eagles. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you made it this far in the video, type real one. And if you are a real one, I'll see you Sunday.